Why do you think was it still impossible for the government to solve this problem of inaccurate recording of the refugees?
I'm not sure about that. It's perhaps a question better addressed to them. But
I mean, you just mentioned the inaccurate, no one really knows how many
I think
really
no one really knows how many people are currently living in the private sector, and that might be a legacy of many years of not being able or willing to keep statistics on the people that had moved beyond, for example, the collective centres. So there may have been a feeling that if they've moved into private accommodation or with families that a problem had been solved. So I don't know, but as I say, they're best placed to answer that. But I think the lack of information does make it very difficult to know exactly how many people are in that situation, so how best to help them. And it's the same with issues of unemployment and healthcare. There aren't statistics that are disaggregated by whether someone is displaced or not. So although there have been some informal surveys of displaced people which suggest that their rate of unemployment is higher than that of the ordinary population, and indeed that their general level of health is lower than that of the population, without statistics it's very difficult to tell whether or not this anecdotal evidence is actually true. But if it is true, it would indicate the need to have some more targeted strategies to address those, because, as I said, we understand that unemployment is an issue generally for the population. But if there are those that are particularly vulnerable, then again, one would think that resources would be best spent targeting the people that are most vulnerable to issues of unemployment or low health care. And if you don't have the information, then you can't make these targeted strategic decisions on resources.
What are your main recommendations for the government, and what do you think, how realistic are they in the nearest future to accomplish?
I think our main recommendations centre around a general contextual one of thinking that you don't solve all the problems just by solving the housing problems. So we think there are still some issues definitely to be solved on housing, but if you're thinking of IDPs' lives for the future, then it's more than housing. You have to look at issues of employment, you have to look at issues of healthcare and so on.
Integration.
So, an integrated package of issues to enable people really to rebuild their lives, not just concentrating on one issue in isolation. I think the second big important thing that we are saying is that there needs to be a much better mechanism for the displaced people to be able to be consulted directly about issues that affect their own lives. Many people felt when we talked to them that they were presented with a solution at the end, but they hadn't been part of any process from the very beginning of people asking them what their needs might be, what their hopes and aspirations might be, what it was that they really wanted. So I think there is much more of a need for this mechanism to ensure that they're consulted at all these stages, not just at the end.
So you think that the government did not ask them what they want? This is what you mean?
Well, many people told us that they felt that no one had actually asked them what they wanted or what they needed. And in some cases this was particularly true with the old displaced people who felt, since 2008 that the focus had shifted very much to the newly displaced people, and they felt that they were still at the end of a very long queue. Now, I know the government has said that it's set up various mechanisms to take these issues into account, but clearly I think the people that we spoke to, if you speak to other people who work with the displaced people, NGOs in Georgia or international organisations, they will recognise that there's such a lack of information among displaced people about what their rights are, about what options there are in their lives. So clearly there's this mechanism isn't working for some reason, and I think that's why the authorities need to take another look at how they really ensure that people feel that they're being consulted and listened to on these major things that affect their lives.
Did they have some initiative, for example, to really state their wish to the government while we talk to them? What kind of real initiative they have? for example, to present? Did they have this kind of start from there?
Yes, I mean, I think they felt that there was a lack of some process that they could understand and identify with that they could see a connection between somebody coming and talking to them about what they wanted and then a reflection of that in a strategy. It seems to be a very long process that they can't see how their input is reflected in what's produced at the end. And of course, people have different needs, they have different hopes and aspirations, so a strategy isn't going to meet all of those to the same level, and we understand that, and obviously that's a challenge for the government, but clearly many people do feel so much that they haven't been listened to, they haven't been consulted, and that solutions haven't really been crafted with what they would want in mind. And so I think it really does require a new, fresh look at this and a new sense of what a mechanism would be that would take all those into account.